everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're doing some really cute illustrations of tulips and hyacinth, perfect for Easter or a spring card. So let's do it. Okay, so for today's drawing, painting, I am using B watercolor paper. I have my Winsor Newton Professional watercolors on my palette. I have my Princeton snap brush in a size 6 round, and I also have this mono drawing ink pen that we are going to use after we paint. You can just use whatever black pen that you have though. Okay, so today we are creating 2 different flower illustrations that would be really cute for an Easter card or a spring card. But the difference with these illustrations is that one, we are going to be creating the bulb that they grow from underneath, so it looks a bit more earthy. And we're also adding black ink on top to outline it to make it pop a bit more. So let's jump in and get started. So the first of the 2 that we're going to do are tulips. And I'm just going to take a really light wash of my permanent rose, and I'm going to do a U shape. Okay. Then I'm going to come down from the top of this U shape, and I'm going to go right down to the bottom, and I'm going to fill it in with the light wash of pink. You want to make sure it's pretty light so you get a nice highlighted petal. And then you're going to come down from the other side of the U, leave a little bit of white space in between, and fill that other side in. Okay, and then I'm just going to take a little bit and do a petal that would be behind, leaving some white space in the middle. Okay, so now I'm going to take some more of my permanent rose color, and I'm just going to tap it at the bottom and then around a bit of the tip, leaving that part of the petal to be highlighted a bit more. Okay, so darkness at the bottom mostly, and then a bit at the tip, leaving that highlighted center. Okay, like that. And let's do another one. So again, a light wash, maybe this, so just do your U shape. Okay, maybe this one could be a bit more closed. Come down, making kind of like a squiggly line coming down like that. And then come down on the other side, leaving a little bit of white space. And you don't even have to do a behind area for this one. Maybe it's a bit more closed. Go back in with your color, more towards the bottom and then around the tips. Like so, okay? All right. So there are your tulip petals. And now we're gonna do the stem, but we wanna make sure that the stem, actually no, before we do that, we're gonna add a bit more shadow. I'm just gonna take a little bit of Hooker's green and I'm gonna mix it in with that pink, and that just creates a shadow color. And I'm just gonna tap the bottom of this tulip a bit to get that darker color at the bottom. Create a bit of a shadow, okay? And that just maintains, oh, and here too. That maintains the color of the pink without washing it out. It's just like a really muted pink. Okay, so now before we do the stem, let those petals dry and then we will come right back. Okay, now that it's dry, we can do the stem. So I'm just gonna grab some sap green here. And I'm just gonna go from the center of that bottom, and I'm just gonna create a stem there and a stem from this one. Okay. Now we're going to create some leaves, and they have those nice long leaves. So come from the bottom, come up, curve it a bit to a point, bring it back down. It's a bit thicker towards the bottom. Let's do another one. Come in this way. Just give it some movement, let it curve. You can have one over here. Like so, maybe another one there. Okay, now I'm gonna go back in with a bit more color and just go along one side of it. Might grab my Hooker's green, so a bit darker of a green. Again, going along one side of it just to create a bit of depth, like so. And then we're actually gonna do some bulbs at the bottom of these flowers, okay? So I'm gonna bring the green down just a bit. I'm gonna leave a little bit of white space like that. I'm gonna get some brown, so I have some burnt umber here, a light wash of it, and I'm gonna create a bulb shape. So it goes out and comes back in like so. And then I'm gonna fill it in, but I'm gonna leave some white lines. Okay, you can connect it to the green just a bit, but I'm leaving some white lines in there. Now I'm gonna go back in with my brown, and I'm just gonna let it bleed around like that. So you can see those white spaces that I've left. I might grab a little bit of black and bring it a little bit darker on one side. Like that. A bit darker underneath. And then I'm just going to create some roots coming from the bulb. So just with the tip of your brush, really thin roots coming out like that. And it just looks so cute and earthy. It's just different than having just plain tulips together like that. Okay, and then once it's all dry, we are going to add some of the black ink just to make it stick out a little bit. Okay, so there's our tulips. Now we're going to create a hyacinth. I hope I say that right. Same kind of deal with the bulb. Okay, so I'm going to do some purplish blue hyacinth, if that's, yeah. So I have some dioxazine purple here. Wash it off. I'm going to take a little bit of cobalt blue and mix it together to get this nice kind of lavendery color. I'm going to wash most of that off. And then I'm just going to create little star kind of petals, even lighter than that, like that. Okay. And leaving a little bit of a center in between those petals. Okay. And then the shape of a hyacinth is kind of like a, not a cone shape, but almost like a cylinder, but it's a little bit more narrow at the top. Okay, so just create these little star kind of strokes with these longer little petals and little clusters. Don't worry about it being perfect or anything. Just create these little long petal strokes. Okay. Some of them you don't even have to see a little center. Don't think too much of it. You're just dragging out your brush just a little bit to get these strokes. And then you can go back in before it dries and add a bit more of that paint so you get some color bleeds. Okay. Like that. I'm going to add a bit more paint. Like so. And then I'm going to get darker as I go towards the bottom. So it's like there's more shadow under here. And like how I added green to my pink here to get a shadow color, the contrasting color of blue is orange. So I could always add, let's do this. We're going to take a little bit of this darker orange. I'm going to add it to that mixture, just a bit, and it just creates this darkish purple color, and that's going to be our shadow color underneath. Okay, and I'm just going to place it towards the bottom petals, like that. You can even grab a bit more blue and make it a bit more blue, like that. Then I'm going to get my green again. Oops, I meant my sap green. And I'm going to do a stem coming from it. You can let it bleed into it a little bit if you want. Okay, so they're going to come up. You can have them touch a bit of the petals if you want. Just going to really fill up this area. You can have some coming from behind. like so. Grab a bit more green. Drop it in there like that. And then you're just going to create that bulb again. Okay, so bringing it down. Grab your brown, light wash, and come out, creating that little bulb at the bottom. Leaving some white lines. Going in with some darker brown. And then get your roots going. Like that. Okay, and if you want to get some darker green, might add some darker green, especially under the flower, into the stem. And then we'll let that dry, and then we're going to come back and do a little bit of ink on top just to make it pop a bit more. Okay, so I have my mono drawing pen, my black ink. You can use whatever you have, and I'm just going to go around my tulip. Not so heavy-handed. You don't want it like super dark everywhere. I might leave some parts without lines, if that makes sense. Okay, and then I'm just gonna really like shade in. It's like doing our line drawings, like our monthly birth month flower drawings, but with watercolor. Okay, so I'm just gonna create some lines coming from the base. Okay, it's a little darker at the base and then darker in here. So there would be a bit of a shadow, so just little lines coming out like that. Okay. Same thing on this one. I'm going a bit more heavy-handed towards the base of the tulip because that's where the shadow would be, so it can be a bit of a darker line. But as I get closer up to the petals, I'm just getting a little bit lighter with my, you can always do some lines too coming from the top, but getting a little bit lighter with my pressure so it's not too dark of a line. Doing a little bit of shadow in there, like that. And then we can go around the stem and around the leaves. Just outlining it. Add a bit of darkness to where those stems kind of hit the leaves, so it looks like there's a bit of shadow there. Maybe kind of underneath the petals too. Adding a bit more shadow in between those leaf petals, the leaves, like that. And then as we get down to the bulb, just outlining it. Okay, and then just adding some lines to the base, because that's where a lot of the shadow would be. And just curve those lines with the shape of the bulb, okay? You don't want straight up and down lines. You want it to curve with the shape. So this side I'm going to make a bit darker. You don't have to follow every one of the roots, but there you go. And it just adds a little bit more to your drawing or your painting. Might bring up some of those lines just a little bit. Okay. Like that. Okay, and now for the hyacinth, it's a bit different because these are really, really small petals, so we're not going to go around every single one of them, but maybe we can create some centers. So I'm just going to do little lines. You can outline some of the petals if you want. I'm not going to do all of them because that would take forever. I'm going to outline a couple here and there, Do some centers. Do some dots for the centers of the petal or the flowers. But I'm gonna, especially at the top, I'm gonna be a bit more sparse with my ink. But then as I get closer down to the bottom, I'll probably outline really roughly too, nothing like intense or perfectly shaped. I'm just really roughly going around these kind of petal shapes. Can you hear my son? Okay, so more ink towards the bottom because that's where the shadow is, so we can darken up those petals a bit. And as you can tell, I'm not even really fully outlining the flowers. Just kind of doing rough little star petal shapes. And then as I get closer to the top, I'm doing less of them. They're spread out a bit more. Okay, like that. Okay, and now we're gonna do the stem. So I'm gonna come down. Some of these leaves are overlapping, so I'll do the ones that are overlapping first. Add a bit of shadow, especially because this is under a flower that's pretty heavy. There would be a lot of shadow on these stems and the leaves. Outline these ones. And basically a little bit of line shading wherever leaves kind of meet one another or one's behind another, if that makes sense. So this one's behind it, so I'm just doing a little bit of shading there. Shading there, that one's going behind. And then more lines as we get closer to that bulb. Outline the bulb. More line shading to the one side of the bulb. Same kind of thing. And the base. Curving with that shape. And some of the roots. And that's it. Okay, so there are 2 line and watercolor drawings together that you can put on the front of a spring card or an Easter card. And there you go. Thank you all so much for watching my video. I really hope you liked it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on Instagram and Facebook for even more. Have a great day, guys. Bye.